Hey, everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Legacy Liftoff podcast by DroneTV. I'm your host, Cody Retlick, and today with me is the founder and CEO of AirVuz, Mike Israel. Mike, thanks for being here today with me.
Thanks for having me, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. I know we've never actually officially met. I've followed AirVuz for quite some time, and you've built, quite an awesome community, right, of sharing drone pilots footage and capturing what is probably now, I think, right, the largest network of drone footage, or the sharing and
I,
the community of it.
I think it
Um,
is. Yeah,
yeah, and it's awesome, and you've done a lot of amazing things with AirVuz over the years. But I would love to hear the story and the origin. As you know, on this podcast, it's all about kind of your legacy in the industry and what you've built and how you got into it. But I really always love starting at the beginning. And obviously, I know you didn't start in drones. So can you kind of take me back of, like, you don't have
sure,
to go all the way back to your first career moment or whatever, but
sure.
because you went to Stanford, right, for economics,
hmm
and you kind of went down more of that investment banking / private equity routes in some ways. But can you kind of give us your story before
Sure,
AirVuz and where you came from?
sure. So I did have a much different career for uh, most of my life. But I did have a lifelong interest in uh, essentially flying things. So I got into radio controlled airplanes and helicopters. Not when I was a kid, but as a young adult, maybe in my 20s, I started, uh, I just got fascinated with that kind of stuff. I probably would have gotten a private pilot's license if uh, it was set up a little differently in life at the time. But I got into to flying mostly small radio RC helicopters and uh, airplanes. I was never like a RC club guy, just more flying small stuff where kind of wherever you can do it. Uh, and uh, and then I saw originally they were really just called quadcopters, but the multi rotor phenomenon kind of caught my eye. This maybe a dozen years ago now, uh, and uh, uh, and I started just sort of thinking about the possibilities of uh, what you can do with these things when you put a camera on it, and the types of video and photography that you can capture that really had been the domain of very expensive manned aircraft operations up until then. Uh, I was involved in my prior life in the investment business. Got involved with a company that was kind of adjacent to the drone space, really more in the RC area, but uh, I got kind of a closer look at some of the things that were going on in the industry through that. And about 9 years ago, I kind of came up with the idea for the AirVuz website, which was really designed to be a place where people around the world could share their drone footage, photos as well, but primarily video footage. Uh, uh, a community that really was just dedicated to that, where people could share and enjoy the drone videos, and there'd be a heavy kind of curation aspect to it. So, um, uh, videos get uploaded to the site, but if they're of a certain quality, uh, we put them into curated collections, or we do things with them to sort of make them stand out. So that was really the genesis of the idea, and the way that it's evolved uh, is we spent uh, several years really just becoming this place where people could upload their videos and know that they would get a certain amount of attention and appreciation, just because they're not getting lost in the sort of millions of videos that get uploaded to YouTube every day. Um, so over the course of the first several years we had, many tens of thousands of videos that were uploaded to the site. I think at this point we're somewhere over 150,000 videos
It's awesome.
that have been uploaded to the AirVuz site from literally all corners of the world. I can't think of a country that we don't have a video from. I can't think of a major city, um, uh, and of course the technologies continue to improve. So what was considered good video in 2016 or 17, obviously, uh, just better now. I think when we started the site, the FPV phenomenon was really uh, just starting to take off. I think I was thinking maybe the first FPV videos started showing up on YouTube in 2012 or 13. So this is maybe a couple of years after that, but still very early on uh, uh, in that life cycle. And FPV is, probably a third of the videos that have been uploaded to the site so far. So it's a big part of what we do and what the AirVuz community does.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
there's just a different type of video, right? They're
Different
captivating.
type of video, and
Yeah,
I think you've been around. It's initially it was kind of about showing people how good of a pilot you were. So lots of very aggressive maneuvers and stunts and tricks, and I think the appeal for that was always going to be somewhat limited, just because it can give people motion sickness. I mean, it was if you weren't actually didn't know about what went into it, I think a lot of it was probably lost on people. But we've seen the FPV uh, pilots becoming, just getting really, really good at cinematography and using the capabilities of those drones to take shots and to take footage that you just can't get uh, with a gimbal stabilized uh, type of a setup. And so that's been really fun to see. Frankly, is just how that's evolved, and how it's obviously there's a racing component to that, but it really has kind of moved beyond the competitive aspects, and it's
yeah,
about just taking these shots that you just could never do, even with like a DJI type drone, and bringing these things along on trips to exotic places,
for sure.
and increasingly getting and this is true across our community. I mean, we've seen a lot of people being able to take this from a hobby into a profession, and whether it's doing shoots for TV shows or commercials, or there's a ton of FPV footage that's now starting to show up in sports broadcasts. All that kind of stuff really has been a way for these top pilots and content creators to transition from this being something that's fun to do, that they're passionate about, to something where they can actually make a living and
Yeah.
travel and do the things that they want to do. So uh,
Well, and I
uh,
think that's the thing too, is like, right, it always did start out, like you mentioned, as kind of that, like, oh man, that's kind of doing these flips and turns, and it's kind of nauseating to watch.
yeah,
And
yeah.
before there was, you know, obviously advanced stabilization methods and different platforms that we could do that for, and really take that footage to the next level where it's a little bit more watchable than what it
Oh, it's
was.
much more watchable. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that the interesting thing is people are watching this stuff all the time now. They don't even necessarily know it. I mean,
Yep.
every car commercial has
Yeah.
FPV footage in it now.
Yeah.
Most
Absolutely.
sports broadcasts, it's not in the live broadcast itself, but it's the establishing shots where they'll
We're
fly around
seeing
the
it now.
stadium or the arena.
We're seeing it now in live broadcasting. I had
Oh
a
yeah,
couple pilots. Man, it's kind of funny too because I didn't plan this out to be like an FPV month, but I
right.
feel like it has been because I had Nick Lang on a couple weeks ago. I had
Mm-hmm.
John Parkerbuck, who started indoor drone tours, and then
Mm-hmm.
Troy from Quad Standard Labs, and Brandon FPV, and then yourself, which kind of all in some ways are a lot in that FPV space, which is fun. But Nick was doing some FPV live stuff for the PGA now and whatnot, so it's come a
Oh
long
yeah,
way. It's become
yeah.
more,
No, we've got a
right? I
young
mean,
man who worked for us early on. Uh, has since become sort of this rock star. His name is Jay Christensen, and
yeah, Jaybird,
he does the he does the Masters, he does the NBA All Star Game, he did the World Series. So these guys are, I mean, they're very, very high demand. They're making a great living. They're getting to see all kinds of cool things, and they're doing the thing that they love, which is
yeah,
flying and making videos. So
absolutely,
it's been fun to just watch some of these careers take off, because
yeah,
I know how much they do it really just because they enjoy the flying as much as anything, and to be able to turn that into a profession, I think is great.
Hey, you don't work a day in your life if you do what you love, right? I mean, that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. So,
Yeah,
no, I love it, and I think a lot of people have really gravitated towards your platform and your community because of that, right? Sharing off and showing off people's
yeah,
stuff and being able
yeah.
to do that. I think bringing it back a little bit to kind of when you first started. I know so you said you were in investment side, you were doing some private equity investments. Did you make an investment in that RC company, and then that kind of is what like
I did
propelled
through
you
the
to
firm that
that?
I was part of.
Okay.
Uh, we made an investment, and I'm still involved with it, sort of just as a board member. But that company actually really got out of the drone. They got in and they got out of the drone industry entirely, and have stayed in the really in the RC
Yeah.
helicopters and airplanes. But uh, um, I invested a substantial amount of my own funds to get AirVuz started. I
Mhm.
since got some other investors to participate and to come in along the way, but I it's not the investment aspect of it is important, obviously, but I really started it because I have a passion for the subject matter, and uh, uh, I love getting to know drone pilots. I love flying myself. I love everything about it, and it's been a fun way to just sort of immerse myself in really a very it's one aspect of drones. Obviously, there's lots of uses for these things, and we really just focus on the the video and the photography. It's given me an opportunity to just you know meet a lot of people, and see things and experience things that I don't think I ever would have been able to do if I had kept my day job.
Yeah. No, and
So
that's what I think is a pretty standard across the board from everyone that I talk to that have made that jump or made that leap, and it's like, hey, it was one of the best things that I did because I went for it, right? And I was
yeah,
passionate about it and ultimately wanted to do something that didn't feel like work, like we mentioned before. But
right.
um so like what did you have like a certain like aha moment or point where you're like, this is just it? Or was it just a culmination of you having that love for RCs and in the past, and you kind of seeing more maybe drone companies come, or it was just like,
Yeah, I
hey,
don't know if it was an aha moment, but it came together fairly quickly. I mean, over the course of maybe 6 months or something like that. I think I saw that uh, drones were becoming more of a mainstream kind of a product. The camera quality was improving pretty dramatically, and I have a love of movies and that other forms of visual entertainment, and I had kind of a fairly profound appreciation, I guess, for what I thought that you know what this could do in terms of just the ability to create really compelling content that just wasn't possible before, or if it was prohibitively expensive, dangerous. So I wouldn't say that there was like a single aha moment, but it wasn't like something that had been in gestation for years. It was matter of months, I think, where the idea kind of
Okay.
came together.
Yeah, let's do it and run with it, right?
Yeah,
Why not? Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. And you've changed, I think, a lot. Like the drones have changed and the content has changed, right? In certain ways of like how you curate content, like you mentioned before, you started by just posting videos and sharing people's stuff, and then you kind of have created this, top five or the top videos or the top
right.
FPV.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You know,
we have sort of a contest kind of pyramid that it's evolved, but it's been in place for most of the time that we've been in business. And uh, basically, we have like top videos that we name each week, and then there's a monthly feeds into a monthly contest where there's a cash prize, and then we have an annual drone video of the year award where we're giving out. Depends on the year, but this last year it was actually sponsored by DJI, so we were able to give away uh, a nice prize package. But having that monetary reward and just the recognition that comes from getting posted on our social media pages and other attention that people get has been pretty important, I think, to getting people to want to upload their videos to AirVuz, most of which is it's also getting uploaded to other platforms. So for the most part, you can find most of the stuff if you looked hard enough on other platforms. But I think where we make a big difference is we have a team of people. We're looking at every video. I mean, we never get so many videos that we can't look at each one, and we're making some determination about just subjectively how good it is, what's the subject matter. Is this someplace that maybe just hasn't really been filmed before by a drone, or is there something famous about it, or was it in a movie, or was it in a TV show, or just anything that kind of that we could sort of grab onto as being notable about the content. And then we have hundreds of these collections that we've set up where we take the best videos that fit a particular topic, and a lot of it's location, but it could be nature. We have tons of FPV collections, so it could be the FPV fly-throughs, it could be the mountain surfing, it could be the kind of travel. FPV is its own sort of subgenre now. So we have collections now on the website where we'll put the best content. We'll put editorial notes on so that people maybe pick up some of the information that the creator wouldn't necessarily think to put in.
yeah,
Uh, and that it just creates a much more satisfying experience, I think, where you can if you're thinking about taking a trip, or you're trying to where do I want to go in Europe, or what are some cool waterfalls in Asia that that maybe nobody's filmed, or maybe they just it was 10 years ago and now you can do it better. It just gives you the site's kind of set up for that kind of exploration, and also that kind of just thinking about what kind of content can I create
yeah,
that's going to get that's going to get noticed and gets put into a collection, or gets win a part of the weekly list or the monthly list or whatever. And the other thing I would say is that uh, uh, with drone footage showing up so many places, I mean, there's always people that are looking to hire people, looking to buy footage, and we get a lot of people coming onto our site just saying, can we get in touch with this drone pilot, or can we talk to this guy about potentially licensing their footage? And we just provide that. It's not something that we charge for or monetize, but that's one of the benefits we think of being on the site, is that we will take the time to connect that buyer, or whoever it is, with with the drone pilot, who is we don't necessarily know them personally, but we know who they are. We know it's actually their work. They're the ones that did it, that flew it. It just gives people another reason to want to be connected with us, because they will. I mean, people, I'd say every month somebody's getting hired to do something because of a video on our site that somebody happened to notice. The ad agencies and people that are looking for video footage have kind of learned that this can be a good place to to look for not necessarily existing footage, but just to hire somebody to
Yeah.
do a promotional video or whatever.
Yeah, they could see a type of flight that they're like, hey, this pilot's really good at,
Right,
diving mountains or diving
right,
buildings or, following a vehicle or dropping from a
right,
building down into a car, something like that,
right,
right? So you can kind of
right.
get those different perspectives. I'm glad you brought it up though, because I think that's something that anytime, drone pilots or anybody really for this matter is like uploading footage to a site, right? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, Adobe Stock, wherever, right? Like
Hmm.
there's always the conversation of licensing and everything. So, the pilot uploads anything to your site, right? They still own all of the footage,
They
all the
still own it.
all of the
We,
license,
they're,
everything like
we have a non-exclusive, non-exclusive right to use it, but it's their footage. They own it.
that.
They can do. What we found is that, uh, the things that we're doing with it are, well, first of all, whatever we do with it, we do credit, whoever the content creator is. Uh, but, um, it, and through that, essentially, these folks are getting more exposure, and people are finding them because they've
Yeah.
seen their stuff. Maybe not even on the website, just somewhere else where we're licensing it.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think that's important to know because, like, in today's world where everybody's like stitching videos or they're using,
mhm.
someone's other footage, it's funny that we talk about this now because I literally today I was like, I was posting a video on TikTok and I just happened to scroll a couple times and I looked and I stopped in my tracks because there's a woman that had all of my golf footage in the back
Really?
of her video that she
Huh?
was talking about doing a drone or a golf itinerary for Wisconsin golf courses, and I was like, that is my footage, like, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
that is a problem. It's like in a lot of ways, it's like they'll just grab it, they'll just use it, they'll screenshot it, or they'll take a screen
Right. Not
recording
give you
video
credit
of
or
it
anything. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not give you any credit. And there
Yeah.
was no credit there. And it's funny, I actually did stitch her video and I was like, hey, that's some pretty nice footage there. It's just something that I think people appreciate though about your site is that, hey, it's not exclusive. They still, you're using it for
Right.
exposing them, allowing them to get some sort of reward, and potentially just more eyes on all of their footage, which is
Right.
important because
Right.
you're tagging them, you're giving them credit. Their names are on the videos, and there's no hiding of like, hey, whose this is or anything like that. And obviously, you wouldn't have the biggest community of that drone footage if you didn't do that. So I think
Right. Right.
it's important
And
to
we try to be very just transparent about all that stuff. So what we our licensing model is essentially we create short clips, usually 3-minute clips on particular topics. So it could be a city, it could be a country, it could be a type of FPV flight, it could be, I mean, you name it, and we'll pull uh, shots in from maybe 5 or 6 different videos for each one of these clips. Full credit to the contributor, a little bit of text about the location because a lot of times people want to understand like where was this filmed, uh, and uh, uh, and we license that. We put it under a brand name called DroneTV, which is something that we own, and we license that out. Uh, both to out of home entertainment or out of home video networks, but we also have an in home streaming channel called Drone TV where we take these blocks and aggregate them into really 30-minute programs. Uh, so it was just an example. We have tons of stuff from Italy. We've created, probably 45, 50 of these 3-minute clips from different parts of Italy, different cities, different themes. And then on our DroneTV channel, which is an in-home fast channel that goes on to these different ad-supported streaming networks. We'll have 3 hours, or it would be a couple hours worth of programming just on Italy. So like Italy from above, or drones over Italy, or something like that, and we'll put like 8 of these highlight clips together, different parts of Italy, and so that's now a half-hour segment on a TV program, and the creator's name is clearly visible wherever it's over whatever part of that content is theirs, and I think people will get people are going to get discovered by this thing. We're on about a half dozen streaming platforms right now with this channel, and there's another 5 or 6 that we're going to be adding over the next couple of months, including some bigger ones. So,
Awesome.
hoping that that this will, just get more people interested in not necessarily creating this footage, but in watching it and consuming it.
Yeah.
And that that the creators will get some additional exposure for the stuff that they're doing.
For sure. I'm glad you brought up DroneTV, because I had it on my notes to talk about, because I think it is a cool, platform / offering that, not a ton of people have done in certain ways. You'll always see like the YouTube channels of just like footage, that's long.
Right.
And like it's a certain scenery, and it's a waiting room music, or if it's sitting out there, and I do a sauna every once in a while. There's a sauna place by us, and they'll always have those channels on. It's like serene natures and that type of stuff. But DroneTV is relatively new for you, right? As in the last couple of years, right?
Just in the last couple of years, we were. We created it when we were invited to create a channel on one of the out-of-home entertainment networks, and we just thought it made sense to have a name that was sort of you just would instantly understand what it is. People wouldn't necessarily know what AirVuz is, but when you see what looks like aerial footage, and then it's DroneTV, it just sort of, oh, that's I understand what it is. It's clear, and I think it's one of the advantages we have, just having all these videos that have been uploaded, is we have almost an endless supply of content. Even if it's 5 or 6 years old, it's still very good. It's not like things have changed that much in that time period. So so we just have this almost endless pool of content that we can draw from and create new clips, new 30-minute segments. We've got a full 24/7 schedule on DroneTV now, and we're adding new segments every month, and so it's making it more appealing to the larger platforms, which they want a certain amount of content, they want a certain kind of refresh rate, and we're in a position to be able to supply that. And the other thing about the drone videos is, you look at what's happening with TVs. I mean, it's been just incredible, just ongoing price drops in terms of the amount of square footage of TVs that you get for your dollar is just continue to go up. So you've got these 65, 75, 85-inch TVs that are 4K capable, and there's just not, and for in-home and out-of-home, there's just not that much content out there that really fills that up the right way. Forgetting even about the 4K aspect, just you have a 65-inch TV, which is really almost small by by today's standards.
Right.
Sports look great on that. Your premium TV, Game of Thrones type stuff looks great. A lot of stuff, it just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
And the thing about the drone footage is it takes up the screen in a way that not many other kinds of content do. And I think we first saw this phenomenon with the out-of-home entertainment, where it really is about just putting something that's very compelling up on a screen, and this stuff really it kind of fits the bill. But then also for in-home where, you're not necessarily going to sit and like on your couch and watch drone TV for 3 hours, but
Good
but
background
just to
stuff
have it
too.
on in the
Yeah,
background, and you have it on when people are over. I mean,
for
everybody
sure.
thinks it's cool when
Yeah,
they see it. They talk about it. It draws, it makes whatever room it's in look cool and interesting. And the screens are just getting. I mean,
better and better.
you have 65-inch TVs for under $300 by Christmas, I
Yeah,
think. And
yeah.
this is it's just perfect for that size screen. And we also, the 4K aspect is also interesting because most of the stuff that gets uploaded to our site is native 4K. That's just what most people shoot in.
Mhm.
And uh, up until now, we've just, whenever we license stuff out, we have to de-res everything to HD uh, resolution. But we are starting to see some interest now in 4K, native 4K content, both for in-home and out-of-home. And I think that's where this stuff, shines even more because uh, it the just the level
Oh,
of
it looks,
pixel detail you
yeah, it
get with
looks
these
clean
videos.
and crisp.
Uh, it just looks incredible on a big
Yeah,
4K screen. I just do it sometimes just with a little thumb drive, and
yeah,
it just blows you away, and uh, it's incredibly eye catching.
yeah,
And I think as bandwidth costs go down, and their TVs are all 4K capable. They have been for years.
yep,
There's just not that much content out
right,
there.
exactly. It was funny
Uh,
that you mentioned that too because
and
it's
I think there's only certain kinds of content don't, a lot of content just doesn't really work in 4K. It's just too much. It's just too much resolution if you're,
yeah,
looking at somebody's face close up or whatever. Uh, but it's this stuff is just made for it. So
yeah.
I'm hopeful that as time goes on, uh, 4K TV will become more of a real
It'll be the
thing as opposed
standard.
to just
Yeah,
a
I think.
capability. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny that you mentioned it too because I had finally, after way too many years, I got my wife off cable.
Okay.
And we went to YouTube TV, and just certain shows and certain things that you're watching on it versus cable, which is not always 4K with cable. Like the YouTube, did a trial with the wife, and I'm like, look at this, like this is way better. You see all my
Yeah.
drone footage that you see, like this is the way it should be watched, all the shows, right? And be able to see that clear quality the way it's meant to be and the way it's
Right.
meant to be shot, right? And or that it is shot in 4K. So it's or sometimes more these days, where I think we're up to 8K and not
Yeah.
a whole lot of people are using it, but I
Yeah.
think even native
Yeah. I mean, you're
now.
running up into limits of human
Yeah.
eyesight,
Right.
but certainly there's hardly anybody's watching 4K stuff now. It's few sportscasts and some of the high end
Yeah, the TV shows.
premium TV, but uh, it really is with the right kind of content. It really is an eye opener, and
Yeah,
the right size screen. I mean, you need to watch it on a
big
pretty
time.
big screen to be able
Well,
to notice it.
we get obviously a lot of pilots that listen to the podcast as well. So I'd be remiss not to ask too. So obviously with your drone TV, right? You're getting a lot of this content that you're curating. You're putting together these hour longer programs, and you're putting them
Mm-hmm.
out there in these streaming sites. Is this something then that also pilots are being able to be monetized for some of that if you're using their footage in some of these drone TV programs, like say like the Italy one, right?
Yeah,
Say I
yeah.
shot something from Italy and you have our footage in there as well. Is that something that the pilots are being monetized for as well, or is that something that
They aren't right now, and that is. I mean, we've been in we just haven't been in a position where we're actually profitable and we're getting close, I think. But uh, right now we are uh, we're not paying people to use that content. It is my hope that as this gets bigger and as we're uh, we just get on more and more platforms that we will be in a position to start paying the top contributors for their content because frankly, I would love to be in a position to do that because then, we'll get all the content in the world
Yeah.
because it'll be, easy way for people to make some money. And we're starting to put some of the back end hooks in place to be able to keep track of. It's very complicated because if you're using these clips and they're going some on your own channel and some on other people's systems, and it's, we don't just take like a single video and turn it into a clip. Every one of them is like, we're pulling from 4, 5, 6 different, sometimes 10 different videos from 10 different contributors.
Yeah.
And so how do you, it's easy enough to sort of, okay, the video is X% is this person's content and then this person, but then how do you actually determine,
Who's just
what's
being
the
watched?
attributable revenue stream when, I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying, yeah. Who's is being watched as much, or how long you can attribute what
Right. Yeah. So
out.
you're
Yeah.
pulling in data from a bunch of different sources. And so uh, I've kind of uh, initially thought, if there'd be a way to just literally keep track of every dollar and then figure out, um, how much of this content that produced that dollar is coming from this person, this person, this person. Uh, I think it may be, that may be, uh, that may be too complicated, for us to be able to do anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I think it will be a more simplified version of that. But we definitely want to. Nothing would make me happier, frankly, than to be able to, start, doing PayPal's or Venmo or whatever to individual contributors, even if it's relatively small amounts, because I think um, it would just it would represent found money
Yeah.
and gives people every reason to want to put all of their content up on our site.
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing. I
it's
think.
definitely something that's since we first started doing this a few years ago. I mean, it's definitely been something that's been on our radar. And like I said, we have put in some of the back end hooks to be able to start tracking. Who's not we certainly track whose content that we're using, but down to the level of, okay, how do we tie that back to a monetization stream
Yeah.
and uh,
I think once you
proportion?
figure it out, or if you do figure it out, it's a huge draw for you, right? I mean, pilots are
Yeah,
always looking to create reoccurring revenue streams, and
yeah,
whether that's retainer clients, or that's licensing footage, or providing
right,
exclusive rights to footage and things like that. I mean,
right.
I know there's a
Well,
lot
the
of
beauty
ways
of this
to
is it,
operate.
it is. I mean, it is kind of evergreen content and it's recurring. I mean, eventually you cycle stuff out, uh, we're running stuff on Drone TV that I would expect that some of it's still being run in 5 years
Yeah,
or 10 years, and so uh, and ads are being sold over it, and so there's a revenue stream that by the time you take it down to the individual video, it might be modest, but uh, it's a long time.
yeah.
Maybe not forever, but
Yeah, at least it's something, right?
many, many, many months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Well, I think that's cool. If it'd definitely be something I'm sure pilots would love to, upload it into your site if that's the case. Because at the end of the day, too, they don't want to necessarily put those shows together themselves, or have
right, right.
the platform
Yeah, and I think
to monetize.
when people see the channel, they'll realize like we're not just taking videos and putting them up there. I mean, every one of these things is highly edited.
Yep.
Uh, it's it 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 feels like it's kind of coming from the same place as opposed to um, being shot by lots of different
Yeah.
styles. Uh, and there's lots of transitions and it's resynchronized and all that kind of stuff. So um, uh, there is, I mean, there is a fair amount of work that we're doing to turn this stuff into something that that a large streaming platform would want. They're not going to just want individual pieces of user generated content. That's not going to be
high quality and
it's not going to be
put
something that's
together.
going
Yeah.
to, even if it's high quality, it's not going to get distribution because you need a channel with a whole bunch of that stuff.
Yep, no doubt.
So
Well, what would you say is like the future for AirVuz? I mean, I know you have obviously the awards, you have the curated content, you have drone TV, you have a lot of other stuff and partnerships and giveaways and things like that too, and showing pilots, off and giving them recognition on their stuff. But and you don't need to
I
give us
think
the keys to the
it's just
castle.
finding more places for people to want to watch this stuff. We're starting to put content together, like for we're put a content package together for a large European rail carrier that's going to start showing this stuff on their monitors on the trains. We're talking to a couple of airlines that also are interested in just having this content in kind of programmatic form be available to their passengers. So, I think there's just more and more screens out there. I mean, the phenomenon of cheap screens just means that they're just showing up more and more places. And so, from our standpoint, I think we kind of realized, uh, maybe a couple of years in, wasn't right away, but to to monetize what we have, I mean, you really have to get a lot of people consuming this content not on the website. They're just the number of eyeballs that are out there, people that will watch this if it's kind of served to them, as opposed to like, go take the time to go find it, is
Yeah,
it's about 1,000,000 to 1 kind of a ratio. And so, so we're very much, I mean, the website obviously is where the creators live, and, that's what kind of feeds the whole thing. But from what do we want to get bigger, it's really more on the consumption side and just getting more and more, more and more placement for drone TV, more and more out of home travel entertainment
yeah,
networks wanting to pick this stuff up. And that's where I really see the, the growth coming from.
yeah.
Um,
When you said
uh,
airlines before, and you maybe you've already thought of this or not, but I had an
mhm.
idea, and you can tell me, it's like, yep, we're already thinking or
Yeah,
not. But like, I think it would be cool if like you're on an airplane and like you had curated content, aerial footage of like the destination that you're traveling,
yeah, no, that's exactly what we're
if
talking
I'm
about.
going to
And
France,
we've been knocking
I'm
on
going
these
to
doors for a while, and it just takes time to find somebody that, because it's different than what they're typically, they're showing movies and TV shows, and this is like different. But we finally uh, have gotten some people to kind of realize that this is, it's a great way to sell a destination. It's
hmm
highly relevant kind of content for somebody that's traveling
big time. Yeah,
to a country or a city to be able to see some footage of that. So, uh, so that's all stuff that's in process and exciting. And uh, I think the fast TV phenomenon is still kind of almost in its, I don't know if it's infancy, but it's got a lot of room to run, I think. And these platforms have gotten bigger and bigger, and there's more platforms. And so just to be able to get in with them and sort of ride the growth that they're going to get from the continued cable, the cord cutting
yep.
uh, phenomenon, I think is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you being on today. If there's
Thanks for having me.
yeah, that was great, and hearing more about kind of you and how you started up and interviews, and if there's anybody out there that's listening that can help you or that you want to connect with, or how can people get in touch with you, or what are you looking for as far as from collaboration with pilots
Um,
or companies and things
I,
like that? I always like to put it out
I,
there.
I'm on LinkedIn. I very um, uh, uh, conscientious about responding to invite connections, and people want to message, and uh, exchange emails. I mean, I think that's probably the easiest way for people to get a hold of me. And um, uh, I'd love to hear from people that would like to talk and understand more about what we're doing and talk about what they're doing. So by all means.
Awesome. Well, cool. We'll put all of your information and the AirVuz and all the links in the show notes for everybody for easy access for this. But
Great.
yeah, Mike, again, very awesome to connect and hear your story. And if anybody else is out there listening, if you liked the episode, please like, share, comment, whatever you can. Helps us out a lot. We are booked up through August now with guests, like Mike, that are in the industry, making a legacy of their own, doing it their way, and love hearing the stories from everybody out there in the industry. So again, Mike, thank you very much, and everybody else, safe flying.
Thank you, Cody.